Your father deal with the success? Because that's got to be triggering for him in a lot of ways too. Triggering, or maybe he's just proud.
You know, at first it was rocky because I felt like he couldn't handle my success. I felt like it did come from an envious place, which is okay because he's human and it's fine. But I felt like, you know, he still wants, like, he's one of those people that feels like, yo, like, I still have a story to tell. You know, I still feel like something, I have to say something. Like, no, he's like, I have to say something. Like, he's one of those people like, let me at him.
How does your father deal with the success? Because that's got to be triggering for him.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Blackbird 91. We're talking to you guys about Coi Leray and Benzino. And we're talking about the father-daughter relationship. How does Benzino and his daughter Coi Leray get to a place where he feels that she's dogging him out, and she feels like she feels like he's jealous of her success? How do relationships between loved ones who are meant to be a father and a daughter get to such an exasperated point in a particular relationship? We're going to break that down on this particular video, but let me give you a quick summary of what I believe happened here. There's a scripture which I love so much in Ephesians 6, which talks about, you know, children should obey and honor their parents. But what people don't realize is the second part of the scripture says an amazing thing. It says, fathers, do not exasperate your daughters. Let me read the scripture to you specifically. It says, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. Rather, bring them up with the discipline and instructions that come from the Lord. Children don't just become some type of way. Daughters don't come out and say they feel like you're jealous of them. Sons don't come out and say these things. There's a reason why this relationship is such a rocky place. And you and I both can understand, because many of you have, I want to say, poor, okay, mediocre, just about good. Some have amazing relationships with their parents. For those of you who have relationships with parents where you feel alienated or separated, this is going to be the video for you, because Coi Leray's issue with her father is her father's emotional support and emotional connection and emotional input that he's put into her life. He's angry that she has not given him the respect that he deserves, but he doesn't realize he's failed in an area which is emotional input. And your behavior towards her mother and what you have modeled as an adult and as a father, she has been watching. Children are like sponges. They soak up the parents' behaviors and they model them to those particular parents. A lot of times parents say, I don't know why they're like this. Well, you modeled a behavior that that child has now picked up, and they are supplying back to you what you've given them. That scripture once more again says, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, okay, by the way you treat them. The Bible says, teach a child in the way to go, and he will not depart from it. The fact that Coi Leray has come out onto the internet, and we'll show clips for you guys today, and said, you know, that she feels her father is jealous of her success, and that, you know, the way he always needs to talk about what he's been through and talk about, you know, what he's done and talk about, you know, his successes, and try to put himself in a place, you know, where it looks like it's now jealousy on her part, is because there's been a certain pattern of behavior that he has exhibited over time that has got them to a place where she now believes her father doesn't care about her. And I'm going to show you the clips, because she's not wrong. There's a lot of behaviors that I've seen in Benzino. I've been watching for the last few years, actually. And I used to do a show called Love Goals, and I used to review it. And Benzino is a father that is trauma-filled. He is filled with trauma, litigated with emotional and physical trauma. And he doesn't realize that due to these traumas, his parenting has been subpar in the emotional aspect. Yes, you provided. Yes, you flew her out. Yes, you bought her gifts. Yes, you might have taken her to beautiful places. And you might have been there 1 or 2 birthdays. But the reality is the child is missing that emotional connection with you, and it has impacted them. For anybody out there listening, this is the impact of an angry father to a child. And that's what Coi Leray is supplying back to Benzino. But we're going to get deeper, and I'm going to supply the clips for you guys. For those of you who are returnees, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. I mean, for those of you returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals. For those of you who are new to the channel, sorry, you already know what it is. Like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate y'all. And thank you for joining this channel. We like to entertain and educate on this place. And we hopefully go deep enough so that you guys can learn and take something from it as well. We're going to be here for about another 25 minutes or so. It's going to be a good, really good breakdown. It's going to get deep. Get your notepads, pens, whatever you need. And let's get into some real conversation as well. If you haven't joined already, we've got a little membership. We're trying to get 100K on here as well. So join our membership. It's £1 or $1. Love to see you guys. And if you know, see the exclusive merch, click down below. All right, listen, let's get into this video because as I said before, to see a child model back behavior to a parent, it can be very painful for that parent. Fathers and daughters fight all the time, right? Because as a parent, you want to take care of your child. But what happens when you call out your father on a national media front and you do an interview with with Miss Martinez and you say some things like, my father, I feel like he's jealous of me and my success. First and foremost, I want to say this. The question was a leading question, but it was leading because there has been history on the net between Coi Leray and Benzino. And I'm going to present some of those evidences so you can actually see why there is a strife and a struggle in the relationship between Coi Leray and Benzino. Now, there's going to be some strong language. So if you've got your children watching who are underage and don't swear already, I would advise you this ain't the video for you right now because there's going to be some swearing in it. Okay. But let's get into this video. I'm going to bring this to your attention.
I was old enough to even understand the source. That shit was gone, bro. Give it up. Don't blame my mother. My mother's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Okay, so let me slow it down because I put it on my 1.5 speed. You guys don't do it that speed. I like to consume information really quickly. Now, this video here, Coi Leray is talking on Instagram Live. This is about 2 years ago, actually, on January the 3rd, right? And she discusses what her pain point is as to why she has issues with Benzino, her father. Let's hear what she's got to say, and then we can break it down a bit better.
When I reach up on Billboard, the day when I'm on Billboard, I'm on YouTube top, I'm on Rolling Stone breaking all kinds of records, and this bitch ass nigga Benzino wants to fucking come online and start fucking with me, bro. Instead of being a father and just supporting from that side, you still want to be bitter. That's why you burn all your fucking relationships, my nigga. And that's why my career, yo, bro, I have to really bend my back and make sure niggas can fucking understand me as a person. Because at the end of the day, I don't want my father's relationships and the bridges he burnt to affect me. All that other personal shit he talking about, ninjas and all that, everybody that's been in my life is fucking cap. That nigga is cap. We lost everything. Source was gone. By the time I was old enough to even understand the source, that shit was gone, bro. Give it up. Don't blame my mother. My mother is the best thing that ever happened to me. My #1 supporter overall. At the end of the day, this ain't here to bash my father. And let me not get ahead of myself and be disrespectful. I don't even mean to call a nigga a bitch ass nigga, right? But at the end of the day, that's a fucking bitch move, my nigga. That's a bitch move. If you a father, right, support your fucking kids, my nigga, and that's it. Don't go online looking for fucking what's the word called? Clarity? Like, what the fuck are you looking for? Some type of fucking sympathy, nigga? You want people to feel bad for you because of what? Let's talk about how I don't speak to you. You didn't wish me happy birthday on like damn near none of my birthdays. Didn't say happy Thanksgiving. Haven't spoke to you in months, but then try to get me to go on growing up hip hop, right? Try to get me to go on growing up hip hop. Told me that they wasn't gonna let you on it if it wasn't for me. They didn't want to pay me the money I wanted. After that, I never heard from you again. Never heard from you again. Come on, my nigga. Y'all niggas is fucking weird, bro. Like, I had to pull over and really stop because I'm shaking. I'm driving by myself on my way to my little appointments or whatever so I could finish up what I got to do so I could get ready for my Atlanta trip. My mom called me. It's crazy because we was just on the phone crying yesterday, sharing this moment, like really sharing the moment. Like niggas don't even understand. Like, and I can't wait to tell my story because it's so many young females, young male that got industry parents or that got people in the industry, and these fucking people feel like they got so much power, bro. These motherfuckers got so much power. Nah, them tables turn. Y'all niggas is outdated as fuck. Would have thought the day.
Okay, so there's quite a lot of language that was expressed in this particular video, and a lot of anger and resentment. You can hear it in this video. But there are several things that were so key that she mentioned that were key information to us to understand. Again, sorry about the strong language, but we're here. So one of the things that she mentions is the fact that, hey, look, she called him a BS, nigga. And, she insulted him, right? Now, I want to make it very clear. I don't advocate for children to insult their parents. But how does a child get to a place where they begin to insult their parents? we have to think about what inputs are being given to get a certain output. Because like I said in the very beginning, train a child in the way to go and they will not depart from it. For her to be in that exasperated place, someone here could say, you know, oh, it's a mother, she corrupted her. Okay, I hear what you're saying. It could be, right? But when you listen to the end of the clip and what actually happened, listen to what she actually was saying. You listen to her, she says, he wasn't there for my birthdays. He doesn't support me in the industry, okay? He only calls me when he wants something, right? He had a situation with, what was it, hip-hop, Love and Hip Hop, Grown Up, whatever, kids, so which I know I've seen on there, whatever. The only reason why he called me was to get me on the show so that he could be on the show. And when he realized I didn't want to do the show and when they weren't going to pay me the money that I wanted, she never heard from him again. What are these things? These things are what we call emotional breakage. There are aspects of your behavior that you've not inputted emotionally into a child. The reason why the child is disrespecting you and the child is separated from you and there is a tension between yourself and that child, between you and your parent, even I should say, it's because they weren't emotionally covering you and they weren't emotionally protecting you. And when a child is unprotected emotionally, especially physically, what tends to happen is anger tends to fill that space because why weren't you protecting me? Anger fills that space because there's frustration underneath the anger, which is over the top of hurt and pain. Coi Leray is angry right now, but she's actually really hurt. And many of us are hurt. Many children are hurt by their parents because of the lack of emotional care. And because the parent feels like because I paid money, because I put a roof over your head and food in your tummy, that's the extent of their parenting. And they don't realize that we are in a season called thriving. We're in a season called luxury. We're in a season where we don't have the fear of having bombs dropped on us because it's World War II or World War I. We don't have the fear of us being raided by another village or whatever. We don't have the fear of being, you know, in a war zone, right? And the reason I mention that is because when you are in that space where there is imminent threats physically, you don't need to deal with the emotional aspect of a human being. You need to deal with the physical aspect. Get some food in you, get shelter, and get cover. And that's fine. But we're not in that space right now, right? People are becoming musical pop stars as Coi Leray is becoming. The fear isn't about a bomb being dropped on you or being in a war zone. The fear is not being loved. The fear is not being taken care of emotionally. And when the emotional inputs are not put into place, the child will suffer. And when a child suffers in that way, the hurt and the pain often is disguised by the anger. And the anger is easy because it's a self-defense mechanism which doesn't address the real issue, which is underneath the surface. So the anger comes up because what anger is one of those, again, emotions are not either bad or good. It's the action that becomes an issue. But the anger comes up as a way of saying, hey, to everybody else around you, stay back. Right now, we wounded, we feel some type of way, and we're frustrated because we're not being able to reach our particular goal. Anger is as a result of a frustration of not being able to reach a particular goal or there being an obstruction to get into a particular goal. And what is the obstruction here? Not being loved, not being cared for. That wanting to get to that particular point B, and there are obstacles in the way called Benzino, who talks too much, and he does, because he talks on the internet a lot about his daughter and in frustration when he should just really, right? But he talks way too much. And when you're saying you're doing stuff, Benzino, but the child is telling you, but you're not doing X, Y, and Z, of course, she's going to feel some type of way. Let's just go back to the ending part, because I think that's key, the emotional aspects.
Hip-hop told me that they wasn't going to let you on it if it was some type of fucking sympathy, nigga. You want people to feel bad for you because of what? Let's talk about how I don't speak to you. You didn't wish me happy birthday on like...
Let's pause. Don't wish her happy birthday. That's one aspect.
None of my birthdays. Didn't say happy Thanksgiving.
She obviously considers happy Thanksgiving a very important date for her. You didn't say anything about that to her that day.
I spoke to you in months, but then try to get me to go on growing up hip hop. Right?
Haven't spoke to her a month, but wanted to then reach out to her and wanted to go on to a TV show, reality TV show. It's giving that you only care about the TV show, not necessarily her. Again, emotional aspect.
Right? Try to get me to go on growing up hip hop. Told me that they wasn't gonna let you on it if it wasn't for me. They didn't want to pay me the money I wanted. After that, I never heard from you again. Never.
And then a discarding of her once he realizes he can't get it once. Now, someone might say narcissistic parenting. We could say that, but I like to say just in general, a lot of people are abusive. And they don't realize they're abusive because they themselves have been abused and they operate through a lens of trauma. And I'm going to explain that a little bit about Benzino. But going back to what she's saying here, key emotional aspects which don't necessarily require money, but require your integrity and require you to act in character to being a father who protects emotionally and provides emotionally and mentally for their child. The things that she mentioned had nothing to do with him spending money on her. It is all to do with emotional connection and your presence emotionally in that child's life. In the very beginning of the video, she actually says he doesn't even wish me a congratulations. Let's listen to that at the beginning.
The day when I'm on Billboard, I'm on YouTube top, I'm on Rolling Stone breaking all kinds of records, and this bitch ass nigga.
No, I was a bit strong there. But as she just said here, again, she clearly outlines again and says, hey, look, I'm on billboards, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Rolling Stone. I've achieved certain things. Where should a parent be? The parent should be saying, Coi Leray, I'm proud of you. Well done. And they should be there emotionally supporting you and uplifting you. The joy of a parent is seeing their child go and exceed beyond them. There's something that my father always tells me. He says, listen, if you don't become better than me, then I failed. And it used to bewilder me a little bit because what does that really mean? And what it means is if I've not been able to put in, if I've put into you and you don't go bigger than what I have, then I haven't really done my job. Because as I'm looking at you, the son should surpass the master because he has all the expertise of the master and his own. And the same thing should be said for me. When I have my children, they should also surpass me too. We shouldn't be frustrated or envious or jealous of our children when they surpass us, right? And very much so, parents can be envious of their children, okay? They really can be envious of their children. It is not something that is it's not something that's rare and doesn't ever happen. It does happen. Okay, that fathers end up being envious of their children, and again, when you're not doing the emotional work and making sure that you're you're working on yourself, you won't realize that some of these behaviors come across to your child, and they're reading it and seeing it and soaking it up. Okay. All right. So envy, and the word envy is to say that arises most often when we compare ourselves to others we identify with, and of course, you identify with your kids. Because there are many you identify with them, but the envy kicks in because sometimes they're doing something that you're wishing you could do, wish that you did do. Sometimes you feel like a failure in a certain area and they go past you and you're not happy about it. Or even maybe they didn't consult you, or maybe they do things differently to you and you feel envious about the way they do it because maybe you felt like you couldn't do it that way when you were younger. And sometimes these things do play a part. Sometimes you're frustrated about the fact that the person is connected with somebody else, maybe, for instance, who's been a father figure in her life, and you're more frustrated about the fact that you're not considered as being a great father figure in her life, and that can make you envious. Sometimes people are just jealous of their children because their children are doing what they wish they could do. You know, that's what I'm saying to you. Whatever the reason is, sometimes parents really are envious and jealous. But a bigger issue is their relationship is at such a rocky point. That's why she said what she said on that interview. Let's go a little bit deeper. I'm gonna present Benzino's side. I want to say this. Look, for any child out there who's going through a situation where their parent is the angry parent, right? It is a painful place to be in when your parent doesn't support you emotionally, because there are bigger aspects. I've mentioned this before on my YouTube. You know, having food in my tummy, a roof over my head, and the clothes on my back was amazing. And I appreciate my parents for it. One of the things that I feel that I wish I could have had more on is the emotional support. When I go for achievements, and I've mentioned it before, it affects your relationships as well, romantic ones later on. But one of the things that I wish I would have had is, okay, I'm doing YouTube. I want you to celebrate me. Look, I'm on my own. I'm doing my own thing. You know, we have 80,000 subscribers following us on TikTok. I have almost 700,000 people following there. I do Instagram, 15,000 there. People are following me because of the work that I do. And what I want is that, son, well done. Even the Bible says that when what the Father says to the Son, Jesus Christ said, son, this is my son who I'm well and truly pleased with. Every child wants to hear from their father and their mother, but specifically to our fathers, they want to hear those words. They want to hear that I'm proud of you. Well done. Keep going. I'm encouraging you. They don't want to hear that you're not happy. They don't want to see that you're in a mood. They don't want to see your manipulative tendencies where someone's getting celebrated and you bring bad news. They don't want to be in a situation where you don't celebrate their birthdays, don't celebrate them on Thanksgiving, don't show them emotional care. But suddenly when you want something, now you want them. It's giving you're a user, and it's given that it's abusive. It's given that the parent doesn't care about you, and that sets children back. And when they're adults and they finally learn, they're angry. This is a Marquise and 50 Cent situation. They're angry, not because they're baby mother, not because the mother of your kids, but because of the way you have inputted into them. Train a child up in a way to go, he'll not depart from it. Let's go to Benzino. I've got a clip here with Benzino's situation that I want to present because I think this really opened up my eyes. And I was like, oh boy, Benzino, you think you're, that you're parenting by just being, buying gifts and that kind of stuff has been good, but you have to understand your children are responding to what you have given them. He actually responded to that video originally as well with that interview, and I'll play that clip as well for you guys so you can actually see it because I think it's quite interesting, and I'll just kind of showcase why I think that he's missing the point a little bit as well with his Coi Leray situation. All right, so we're going. Let me bring this up to you guys.
She got a GED. She pleaded, and she went to the high school. He's an alumni. He went with her. He was her escort to this. You see the shit that I'm going through? Like I could just blitz the out and just go. But you know what? I can't. I've been taking this abuse for 5 years. The whole career has just been based on disrespecting me. 5 years ago came out. Oh, you on the internet. That was new to me. I couldn't even. Like that was new. I didn't even understand how to take this to my daughter. Like my daughter.
You think she's using you for clout? You think she's using you for
5
clout?
years. 5 years. I'm saying 5 years. The whole storyline is that she got beef with me, and I get it because the label figures like, look, in the black community, all the fathers ain't around. So you know what? Act like he ain't around and believe me, you're gonna get all the support you want. But it's backfiring. People can see through that shit now. People could see through it. Like I was there for my daughter. I was there for my daughter's 2 older brothers who wasn't mine with their mother by 2 other from Boston who were well able-bodied and could have sent money and never sent. I'm proud to do that. Even when I didn't have the money, I was hustling. You know, Coy's mother never worked a day in her life when she was with me. A day in the 10, 12 years, never. Like, come on, man. Like, I don't want to be painted as some fucking deadbeat fucking dad when that's nowhere near the case.
No, I don't think you a deadbeat dad at all. I just think
I want to pause it right there. You see, he talks about what he did, and what he doesn't realize is you're not listening to your child. A lot of parents suffer from the ability to actually be self-introspective and look at where they've made mistakes. He doesn't realize that just because you pay for some stuff and you looked after the 2 sons and this is another thing that people don't tell you also as well, right? That not everybody in the family responds to one type of parenting the exact same way, right? And even in my family, I noticed that the parenting that my dad has doesn't respond the exact same way to the others. I enjoy it. I don't mind it, but there are some downfalls to it. But I liked it because of my nature. But not every child in the family was able to respond the exact same way because they're not built the same. And so you may not see that failure. You may not see that as a failure, but and again, I don't even like saying failure, where there could have been adaptations in your parenting, right? But you've got to be able to be self-introspective, put down the ego, and actually be able to see, hey, where have I not been able to fulfill the needs of my child? And yet you're sitting on the big boy internet talking about your daughter is disrespectful for talking to Angela about your situation. And yet you are sitting with Tasha K right now, outing your daughter about she went to a graduation and chose someone else and the industry is what's caused her to. Everybody's at fault as to why your daughter's turned against you without you actually thinking about what you actually did. That tells me lack of accountability. Lack of accountability where you can't even consider the fact that you may be part of the problem. It's not the baby mother. It's not the industry. It's not the people that took her to her graduation. It's not no man that she might be having sex with. Ain't nobody else but you. But you can't see that. Parents like this have a very one-track mindset. And the reason why Benzino has a one-track mindset is because whatever trauma, emotionally and physically that you suffered as a child, which he did because he was on Love Goals and I watched it and he talked about it. And I'll show you some clips as well where he said he pulled a gun on his own dad and yet wants to talk about disrespect. You want to talk about your own daughter about disrespect, yet you pulled a gun on your dad? The cognitive dissonance But you're going to have that because you're filled with trauma. And parents who are filled with trauma struggle to identify with the trauma of their own children because they're still attending to their own wounds. Oh, let's talk about it. Some parents can't give grace to their children because they themselves are still wounded. And they only see their own fault. They only see their own pain and their own wounds. And they struggle to put the child in the place of a child. And the parent becomes the child. So you want me as a child to make you the child emotionally and take care of you emotionally. And I'm the child. And it's because a lot of parents had to grow up really, really fast in their trauma-filled spaces that they didn't have the time to emote and to take care of their feelings. And now they're in a place of parenting and their child is maybe a little bit more grown or a bit more adult now. They can finally look at themselves. But now what they don't realize is by looking at yourself, you've made you focus all your issues on what has happened to you. And I've gone through this, and you don't realize that you have put your child through X amount of years of issues, trauma, and lack of emotional, oftentimes, care. Right? You were there, but you weren't there. You were present, but you didn't give the end of your presence and energy and time and love and care that she actually really needed from you and support. That's what she needed from you. Let's listen a bit more.
I just think Coi is just going to have to learn the hard way. And regardless of how she learns Benzino, you're going to have to pick her up. And you're going to have to stay out of jail while trying to keep her off the ground. Coi would not have these industry contacts or be in the position that she's in if it wasn't for what you paid.
But even still,
No.
But even still, I've never seen nobody talk dog their parents out on interviews like that. I've never seen this shit before.
So he's frustrated because she's dogged him out on an interview before. But brother, I've never heard of it's rare for me to hear that a son takes a gun and points the gun at his dad, and his dad points a gun back at him. Right? We all do things that honestly, but that's his level of disrespect. And the reality of the situation is the reason why he feels disrespected is because he feels he's done a great job and he's not listening. He's only focused on what he feels he's done. You're not listening. Many parents are in that space. You're not listening. You're only hearing what I've done X, Y, and Z for you. You're not listening. Your output you're getting now from me is as a result from the input you've put inside of me. I've been trained in a particular way, and I'm giving back what you have put inside of me. Don't complain about what you see in the mirror because this is what you put inside of me. But you try to flip it, and you want to say this is this. Yeah, okay, cool. Maybe her talking about you would be some level of disrespect. It's very old school mindset. We can't talk about things that our parents got wrong. It's a very old school mindset. You can't talk about anything your parents got wrong, right? Even though if it affected you, you got to suffer in silence. No. We don't have to suffer in silence. The child does not have to suffer in silence. And staying in silence, that's what you did, and you didn't change your behavior because you suffered in silence. And now you want me to suffer in silence and follow the same route and do the same for my kids? No. That's why when parents become grandparents, they start looking at their children, their way that they're parenting. They look at their child and how they parent, and they're like, "Oh, I don't agree with that. I don't think." Right? Why don't you agree with it? When you was a parent, you didn't have no problems. And the reason being is because now you have a different perspective. Now you're a grandparent. You can begin to see where there were flaws and errors in your parenting. I need you to be self-introspective, and I need you to actually listen to your child and your children as to where it's gone wrong and then fix it. Don't assume, don't guess, don't try to get ahead of the devil. Let them tell you how they feel. A little bit more.
You know that's the industry. So your daughter is kind of an innocent casualty in this, and she's just young.
Not innocent no more. 5
young.
years went by. Listen, it's calculated now. It's calculated with her label, with people around her, with her mom. It's all calculated. And at the end of the day, right, listen, I don't mind being the bad guy. I grew up the bad guy. But like this right here, I was already blacklisted when the Eminem happened with the industry. This is like their revenge to take my daughter and exploit her. And everybody on the internet, she's grown. Minds are so twisted. They don't give a fuck if a young girl is on there twerking, showing the pussy, whatever. They don't give a fuck. They're grown. They let them do what they want to do. These kids grown back in the day would be 10 years younger. Mentality. I don't want to hear that grown. I don't want to hear that.
I mean, he can't really talk about industry mentality. You come from an industry that was exploiting women before this, bro. It's not new. Women shaking their ass. This is not new. It's just the fact that it's your daughter now. It's not new. Women exploiting their bodies is not new. You know, again, a failure to understand that it's not about everybody else. It's about what you have done. I'm going to play another clip presenting this issue. And I think this will be a much clearer aspect in terms of the situation between Coi Leray and her father, and why I believe that Benzino has modeled a poor model for Coi Leray, and that is why she's reacting the way she is, right? That's why she is where she is, okay? Because even Coi Leray has shown some loyalty towards Benzino. She says she ain't gonna do no tracks with Eminem based on your beef. She doesn't even know what actually really happened, but based on your beef, she's gonna stay away from Eminem. At the time she said that, right? Let's have a look at this, right? Let's have a look at this, because this is gonna get deep real quick. Let's play this clip. All right. Okay, there we go.
When he said that shit, and that triggers my daughter to be like, my dad let me down. Because why? I'm supposed to go blow his fucking head off, right? This is all fucked up.
That's not the case. Stop it.
I'm just saying.
You know what you do. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. No. Stop. You didn't listen to what she said. Stop, G.
But that's what she.
Stop.
Tell me what she said. I'm sorry, Flip. I don't know what she said.
Said that you told her that you wish she was a boy.
Yo, man.
That's what she just said, G.
Once again, as soon as he got a challenge, and Flip is his boy, by the way. Flip is a guy who's his boy. Flip is challenging him and telling him, listen, bro, you messing up. You told her at one point that you wished that she was a boy. Now, Benzino will tell you he don't remember this. He didn't say it. Do you know why? Because when you're angry, you don't remember certain stuff. You know why? Because you said it in the heat of an emotional aspect. And one of the issues about Benzino, and the biggest issue of parents like Benzino, is their emotional reactivity. They get way too emotionally, how do I say, aroused. And when they get to that place where they're so aroused, they forget what they said. Anybody been sexually aroused before? You know that when you're sexually aroused and you're in the act of sex, it gets to a place where you say some stuff, and when someone says to you, do you know you were saying this during sex? And you're like, I didn't even realize I said that. Some of you haven't had sex, so don't worry about it. But you know, you don't realize that you said what you said. Why? Because you were so aroused. You got to a place where the emotion took over, and it was conscious, but it was subconsciously coming through. So what you don't realize what you're saying in that moment. You've forgotten, you know. And so your boy here, Flip, is challenging you, saying, you know, you told her you wished she was a boy. Instead of Benzino just sitting there and taking it, he walks off and says it's too much. All right, and he actually comes back after as well, so you'll see it, right?
Watch the video. She just put they have a whole live with the girl in tears saying that she saw our video. She said that you're blaming her mother, and she said something about you wish he was a boy, and these things. And when she called to ask you for support, this is all online, Z. She did it
on my dead mother, Mary Scott, whom I love dearly, my best friend. I ain't never said no shit like that. On my dead mother, I ain't never said no shit like that.
What's what happened?
On my dead mother. As far as her mother goes, a lot of this is her mother's fault. All right. Now I didn't bring that up, but you know what? We all the way out here now, right? All right. She mentioned me. We all the way out here. Her mother is the one that poisoned her fucking mind. When I went and did Love in the Pot, and I went Carlian out there, that's when all this about, oh, fuck him. And oh, yo, he don't, oh, look, he keep posting Zeno. Oh, that came from her. But before the rap shit, when she had problems with Coi, and it was like, oh, Ray, you better come get her, because I'll beat her up. And then Coi had to come live with me. Did she say that too? Get the fuck out of here.
It doesn't mean that the mother is perfect. What it means is your emotional care and aspect, bro, you've missed it, right? The emotional aspect, you've missed it. As a father, your job is to protect her mentally and emotionally. And sometimes they're going to take decisions that you're not going to like, but you're going to still be a father for her. The fact that you didn't even address the fact that they said that you called her a boy, and you just said to you, out of my mom's life, I never said it, but she's telling you she said it. All you had to do was say, you know what? I didn't even realize I said it. I apologize. My bad. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I hurt you in that particular way. I apologize and move forward, but you don't want to, because you don't want to be wrong. And your inability to want to be wrong is linked to your ego, which is linked to your fear that if being wrong means being not good. Being wrong means not being good. A lot of our parents have fragile egos. And because they haven't healed, being wrong actually means they're not good. And so whenever you challenge them on what they said or what they did, they have to flip out. They have to get angry. They have to shut you down, because if they're wrong, it means that they're not good. And that breaks their self-esteem and their self-worth. So a lot of times we're fighting our parents and not realizing the parents, they're suffering. I'm not saying that we should get, forget what they said. No. I'm merely giving you an aspect of what's happening here. And Benzino doesn't realize that because of that, he's imputing so much damage into his daughter, Coi Leray. So many daughters are suffering because father figures, and mothers too, but father figures are doing this. And then they're complaining, saying, it's the mother, and not checking where you are failing. She told us very clearly what you didn't do. Very clearly, right? Let's get back into it. Last few minutes. Listen, let me show you again why I said about the fragile ego. Listen to this. Just listen very carefully.
We on the internet. This is what she wanted. It's what she got. My fucking name's not, and my honor will not be compromised, bro. I'm a good nigga. I'm a great father, and I'm a great man, and I'm not going.
Remember, I said to you about making mistakes equaling whether they are a good person or not. That's what I'm talking about. That's how he's explained it. The making a mistake does not mean you're not a good person. Doesn't mean you're not a good father. But what you do need to do is that to start to pay attention to the person who you're fathering. How are you saying that you're a good father and yet the child is telling you, I'm suffering? You happy to label yourself as a good father. You're happy to label yourself ahead of that person. They have to tell you they're a good father. Not you just saying that I'm a good father. They have to agree with that point. But he doesn't realize that. Right? He doesn't see that because, again, it's all about him. It's solely about him. And it's because of what wounds he's carrying, he's done it. Okay? But I want to leave it here because I can do a whole separate live on it. I'll do a part 2 to this. I want to say to anybody out there, I know that a lot of people are going through this situation. And when I watched the original video, some people were cussing out Coi Leray, saying, how can you come out on the internet, talk about your father, and they don't realize that there's a reason why we got to that place in the first place. A child doesn't just come out and go on a big boy internet and start dogging out their parent. There's a lot of backward stuff that's happening behind the scenes that have contributed towards that child. Being angry and being hurt and being broken by a lack of cover by that parent is often what leads to these kind of moments. And the fact that the father keeps talking. I just recently saw a post where he said, why has Busta Rhymes got her half naked in the video? Yet you were high-fiving and saying, Busta Rhymes is my friend, and Busta Rhymes, I appreciate him. Beforehand, 4 months ago. You can't have it all, my guy. Right? So we'll talk in part 2 about this, but yeah, wanted to end it there for you guys. Much appreciation. Stay locked, stay loaded. We'll drop